in the next 4 minutes, the video will start to roll. All right, pull that up on something so we know that it's going good. Okay, I just got it showing that I'm live. So I got it right here. What am I hearing? I'm still hearing all of that. Okay, I just got it showing that I'm live. So I got it right here. I'm still hearing all of that. Okay, I just got it showing that I'm live. So I got it right here. I'm still hearing all of that. Okay, I just got it showing that I'm live.
Comfort comes from knowing that people have made the same journey, and solace comes from understanding how others have learned to sing again. Helen Steiner Rice. Poet Helen Steiner Rice understood something very equalizing about the human condition. She knew that no matter what we endure in humanity, others have lived a similar experience, and there is a comfort that comes in knowing that one day joy will return. Right now, the challenges and loss that we have collectively experienced from COVID 19 may lead us to forget our ability to be resilient and realize that we will move beyond this one day. That is why the Caribbean American Cultural Arts Foundation created the Solace Virtual Series and Outreach Campaign. Our goal was simply to engage, inform, and inspire people forward. We wanted to bring artists and art to the forefront as a resource to help us collectively move beyond COVID 19. This is the first time in modern history that the world has been left at a standstill, undone and uncertain. We wanted Solace to bring comfort to the community and bring hope by reminding you that one day we will sing and celebrate together again. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. On behalf of Chairman Michael Thomas, the board and staff at CACAF, welcome to Solace. Comfort comes from knowing that people have made the same journey, and solace comes from understanding how others have learned to sing again. Helen Steiner Rice. Poet Helen Steiner Rice understood something very equalizing about the human condition. She knew that no matter what we endure in humanity, others have lived a similar experience, and there is a comfort that comes in knowing that one day joy will return. Right now, the challenges and loss that we have collectively experienced from COVID-19 may lead us to forget our ability to be resilient and realize that we will move beyond this one day. That is why the Caribbean American Cultural Arts Foundation created the Solace virtual series and outreach campaign. Our goal was simply to engage, inform, and inspire people forward. We wanted to bring artists and art to the forefront as a resource to help us collectively move beyond COVID-19. This is the first time in modern history that the world has been left at a standstill, undone and uncertain. We wanted Solace to bring comfort to the community and bring hope by reminding you that one day we will sing and celebrate together again. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. On behalf of Chairman Michael Thomas, the board and staff at CACAF, welcome to Solace.
I'm Michael Thomas, the chairman and founder of the Caribbean American Cultural Arts Foundation. Thank you for joining the Solace virtual series. Today we renew our series with a renewed focus on mental health. The work is important as we go through this most difficult time. Mental health deserves more candor and more unashamed conversation. These important words were said by actress Glenn Close. It is also said that the race is not promised to the fast and the swift, but to those who endure it to the end. Today, we focus on you, the Solace community. On behalf of the Caribbean American Cultural Arts Foundation, welcome to Solace virtual series, Mental Health.
Greetings, Solace family. I'm multimedia journalist Melissa Noel, and I'm extremely delighted to be your host this afternoon. We last saw each other back in June when we celebrated our 2020 graduates with a global ceremony. But the journey really started in May when the Caribbean American Cultural Arts Foundation launched a powerful conversation on mental health. So it's only fitting that we return to that discussion 6 months later. Today, mental health continues to be one of the most prominent issues to come out of this pandemic. It's undeniable that COVID-19 has shifted all of us as individuals, as a community, and as a global family. We're hopeful that you'll be reminded to take care of yourself because that's the best way for us to heal and move forward as a community. I'm grateful to the Caribbean American Cultural Arts Foundation for inviting me to serve as your host to take you on this afternoon's journey, which will include poignant conversations, exposure to the healing power of the arts, and of course, hearing from you, our Solace community. This series will have a multi-generational look at the impact of mental health from children to teens, adults to seniors. Renowned psychologist Dr. Jeff Gardere will moderate today's conversation as he did back in May. But first, let's welcome a dear friend of Dr. Jeff, Mr. Sorrel Cuton.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Melissa. It is my pleasure to be introducing to you the moderator for today. Today's moderator loves New York City, and more than the city, he loves his fellow New Yorkers. Since the beginning of the pandemic, your moderator has made it his job to have the well-being of the people of New York, psychologically and mentally, his primary job. If you're worried about getting COVID, Dr. Jeff has been there for you. If you're worried about having COVID, and you have it, and you're recovering. He's been there in the thick of it since the very beginning, dealing with what it is to be worried about or recovering from COVID-19. So none other than America's psychologist, my good friend, Dr. Jeff Gardere, is your moderator today, and he is well qualified to be that. He's the most widely sought after expert in the field of mental health. In addition to having a private practice in Manhattan, he is an associate professor and course director of behavioral medicine at Touro College of Osteopathic Medicine in New York City. Dr. Jeff, you wouldn't know it by the way he speaks or the way he carries himself, but he's a man of the cloth, an ordained interfaith minister with a doctorate in divinity from the New Seminary. Dr. Jeff, better known as America's psychologist, and that he is also a prolific author of 4 books and a contributing author to half a dozen books, including the brand new text, The Causes of Autism. In addition to being a respected academician, Dr. Jeff has been a contributor to the Fox Network, the Today Show, MSNBC, and CNN. Yes, he is a popular man, but also a very generous and always available. You'll not only see him on panels like this as the moderator, but you'll see him all over the place, doing nothing more and nothing less than what truly gives him life, to be a contributor to the well-being and the mental health of his people, the people of New York. And today, you have him as yours, tending to the mental health of you, the listeners of this program. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor of introducing to you and giving to you my friend, Dr. Jeff Gardere.
Well, thank you very much, Sorrel, for that warm introduction. And to our friends at home, welcome to all of you to the Solace virtual series on mental health. Can you believe it? It has been absolutely just 6 months since we last gathered to talk about the initial mental health impact of this, my God, horrible, once in 100 years pandemic. Many of us hoped that we would have been out of the woods by now and that we would be preparing to see an end to the uncertainty of 2020. But as we can all see, concern continues to rise. Health has been politicized, and there's much debate about the way we move forward, the best way we move forward. I'll tell you one thing, I believe in science. And in the words of the immortal Burt Bacharach, I believe in love, Alfie. And that's why I'm so excited to lead today's conversation. It's really a step that will move our community toward workable solutions on mental wellness. Now, before we introduce our panel, Caribbean American Cultural Arts Foundation would like to thank our partners, Microsoft Hub, Westside Parent Avengers, the National Council of Behavioral Health, and the City of Atlanta's Mayor's Office on Cultural Affairs. Thank you for partnering with us once again on the Solace series. And you know, Solace is a mix of information, inspiration, and community. So with that in mind, let's introduce our incredible panel. Let's start with Shauna Wilson. She's a licensed mental health counselor and founder and owner of Revolutionary Change Counseling in Apollo Beach, Florida. Her agency focuses on mental health services for all ages, including revolutionary play, which supports the mental health needs of our children. Shauna, welcome, and thank you for being with us once again. Next up is Chris Scott. Chris serves as the VP of the Caribbean American Cultural Arts Foundation. She is a master life coach, and founder of Coaching Forward International. It's a nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering and training coaches while providing necessary support to the community. She spearheaded the COVID-19 coaching support helpline based in Metro Atlanta. And thank you, Chris, as always, for your great work. Joining us next is Sameka Yisrael Johnson. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist and the founder and owner of Committed to the Journey. It's a counseling practice that serves clients in Maryland and Florida. Last but not least, of course, Sharon Hill. Professor Sharon Hill teaches in college, of course. She's a transformational coach. She's also the founder of REMA Consulting Company that works to develop entrepreneurs, community initiatives, and nonprofits in Southwest Florida. Welcome, everyone. Let's start with a quick check-in to each of you, starting with you, Shauna. So great to see you. How have you been doing? And let's just go around the room and check in on every single one of you.
It's so great to be here. Thank you, Dr. Jeff, and thank you to the CACF Foundation for having this panel today. We have been doing well. My family, in this time of togetherness, we've been able to find a new work-life balance of working at home remotely, homeschooling my son, who is 4. God bless all of our teachers, and also doing the great work at Revolutionary Change. We've recently expanded the practice because there's been such an overwhelming response for the need for mental health services. And so we just continue to do the important, impactful work for mental health wellness.
Excellent. Thank you, Shauna. And you are making a difference. And hip, hip, hooray to the teachers and to the professors. And let's check in on one of our professors, Sharon Hill. Professor, what has been happening in your world since COVID-19 decided to take us from Earth 1.0 to Earth 2.0? Culture shock. And just unmute yourself, Professor. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this amazing group of professionals and people who know and that are in the trenches at this time, helping us to cope with the stresses that go along with this pandemic. It's been a really amazing, I have to say, it's been a good fall semester, even in light of everything that is going on. As a professor, as you well know, some of you here on the panel are professors, it's been a challenge to do that switch in helping the students to adjust to mostly online learning. And they have stepped up to the challenge. It's been a challenge for the academia, the staff, the faculty, myself included, and it's been a challenge for the students themselves. And they're faring well, so we're doing just fine.
All right, thank you, Professor. And I can tell you, I don't think so. I really don't think things will ever be the same again. We do want to get the kids back into the seats, into the classrooms. But I think the train has left the station and the horses have left the barn. And if we had more time, I'd come up with a couple of more analogies. Dr. Jeff has left New York and he's exiled Connecticut. But, I think we're going to see more hybrid learning than ever before. So we, as the teachers and professors and therapists, we're really going to have to step up our game. And talking about therapists, Sameka, what has been happening in your practice? What have you been seeing with many of the young adults coming through since COVID-19?
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, thank you for allowing us to be here on a panel, and I'm so happy to see all of you. With the young adults that are coming through, there is definitely that continuance of challenges with adjusting. Like you mentioned, many of us, 6 months ago, we had no idea we would still be here. And here we are getting ready to transition to a new year, a new calendar year. And we're still in very similar circumstances. For many people, even worse circumstances. So there's been a lot of adjustment. My family has moved to Florida, so physically we are well, but we are experiencing some of the same challenges as everyone else around the world, dealing with COVID and adjusting and laws and changes. But all in all, we're happy to be here and continuing to serve.
Well, that's excellent. It brings me to just a little story. You know how I like to share little stories about my dysfunctional life. I went to University of Rochester. I came home. I drove the 7 hours from Rochester to Brooklyn, where my parents were living. I rang the front door because I didn't have the key. Some stranger answered the door and said, "Oh, you must be Jeff. Well, your parents moved to Miami, Florida." I was like, "Great, thanks for telling me." And I still have the emotional scars. Chris, I know you have been doing a lot of work with your coaching support, COVID-19 coaching support helpline based in Metro Atlanta. Tell us about that work and how you have been able to react to this pandemic.
Well, welcome again, Dr. Jeff. We so appreciate you being here on behalf of CACAF and everyone else. So Coaching Forward International, we've actually been doing a lot of work with the homeless in Atlanta, those sleeping under the bridges, and because I think sometimes we forget about those individuals in that population because we're so dealing with our own issues at home. But we are still taking calls on our helpline for individuals that have been quarantined and just having a really tough time dealing with what's going on. I and my family and I, we're safe. We are following precautions. And yesterday, I have to say, was very difficult, and I'm sure for a lot of individuals, a lot of families as well. My family wanted to get together so bad, you know, my sisters, my nieces, and I said, "Sorry, guys, I just can't. I have to be responsible as the matriarch of family now." I said, "I just can't." They didn't feel real good about it, but I told them, I said, "You'll feel better about it one day." So just trying to stay safe.
And Chris, you know what? One day they will thank you for stopping them in the name of love. That is tough love, and that's something we all had to do. We actually did it here. I actually had to turn away some relatives, which was tough because they were bringing the turkey. Yeah. But just joking. But Chris brings up a very good point about the loneliness and isolation we've been feeling. Shauna, let me go to you here. A lot of people are battling a lot of these issues of isolation, loneliness, especially going through this holiday season. I know that we all have a story to tell, but what are some of the things that people can do to cope? Because we have, Hanukkah and Christmas and, the Latin versions of our holidays and, the African Americans, Kwanzaa, Three Kings, and so on. All of those things. I didn't want to leave out any groups, our Muslim groups, all of our groups. But what is it that they can do to cope, especially with this idea of keeping the crowds in our home small and really staying to our pods? That's in our pods now.
Absolutely, and that's a great question, Dr. Jeff. With the family gatherings, of course, all of the holidays look very different for everyone this year. And this is a different type of isolation because we're doing it for the health and safety of the nation. But with that, I think that this is a really good time to find new ways to explore connecting, be it if it's through the use of Zoom like we're doing now, technology. Gatherings can still happen. They just look a little bit different. And so, when you look at isolation, there's different types of isolation, but redirecting your focus and focusing on the needful things, I think is a great way to help you cope mentally and emotionally through these changes where you're not able to see the people that you care about every day. So I like to use the analogy of reaching out instead of reaching in. And be it if you have to do more Zoom calls, you have to do more events online so that you can feel connected to the people around you. It does so much for your mental health. And I think it's important now more than ever to communicate when you do feel like you may be pulling away from your family or your loved ones. These are the times more than ever that we should reach out and connect as best as we can.
Yeah, and it's really amazing for our therapists here, which is almost all of us, because all of you are life coaches or therapists, how we used to give advice, keep your kids away from the internet, it'll rot their brain. Now the worm has turned and we're saying, get them to the internet to study. Get, our family members on Zoom in order to be able to stay connected with family members, which is a very healthy thing. I've even heard of people who are exercising and are watching each other exercise so they can stay connected and mimic each other's forms and movement and so on. And I said, boy, that gives a whole new meaning to the word Zumba. But with that being said, Chris, let me go back to you very quickly on this. A lot of people have felt that they've lost their way. The world is upside down. All of our customs are now different. Look what we're going through with the holidays, with Thanksgiving, how we've had to recreate a lot of our celebrations, recreate the way that we live. I told my wife, if I never had to leave this house again, leave this property, go to a restaurant, do anything, I would love that. I would stay here. But for a lot of people, the world is upside down. I know people have been, reaching out. What is it that you think can help get them back on track and get their feet to touch the ground finally, because things are ever changing?
One of the things that I find, Dr. Jeff, a lot of depression is taking place. And one of the things that I tell those that I meet with, either through coaching or counseling, to write a list of those things that stressing you. We have to face it, and we have to know what's stressing us. What's stressing us about the pandemic? What are you afraid of? And we have to confront those things. And another thing I say to them is write a list of things that make you happy. Think about the times when you were at your happiest. Think about those moments and focus on those things, and you'll find your way back. Find that vision that you created in 2020. Don't forget about it because COVID interrupted it. So stay focused. Even now, going into 2021, some people I've heard say, well, I don't need to do a vision board. I don't need to think about a vision because I don't know what's going to happen. But that's not a good way to think. Still plan. It's important to plan. So make those lists. And I know we'll talk about this a little bit later, but the workbooks that we have on our website is quite insightful, quite helpful to help guide individuals on making those lists.
All right, well, that's excellent. Chris, let me ask you very quickly, what makes you happy?
What makes me happy? Well, I direct stage plays and things like that. That makes me happy. So now I've had to create things on Zoom, little plays and table reads and things like that. So I haven't fully gotten away from it, but that makes me happy. And helping others make me happy. So if I stay and wallow in my stuff, that's not a good place to be.
And I agree. That's right. Get more focused, get perspective, and be able to volunteer and help people. And that's what makes you happy. Samantha, what makes you happy?
Interestingly enough, helping people. And I have a newfound appreciation and I would say intensified amount of love for my family. Because we've been together, we've really, really been able to reconnect. And we haven't had to go far. So helping others and really taking advantage of family time.
Shauna, what makes you happy?
I'm going to add to what Sameka just shared, family, time with family. The smile on my son's face, quality time with my husband, it has been so enriching, and just really simplifying and being present in the moment. That makes me happy as well.
Professor, what makes you happy?
Oh, just being able to Solace actually does make me happy. Being able to write, being able to prepare to really engage our students and get them excited about their future successes and to come up with their plan of action of what they need to do academically for a professional life. always looking towards the future, what it is that they can do now for a better future, and not focus on the negative.
Wow.
That makes me happy.
Yeah, that's great. I'm so glad that we have you all in the world, because you really are leading the way. But even with this happiness that we all are able to find, and we do that because we're, life coaches and mental health professionals and teaching professionals. We know that if you talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. So we have to find things that make us happy. I'll share with you what makes me happy is being home, as I said, with my family, not having to make that 3-hour commute back and forth each day from New York to Connecticut, and being able to actually sit down with my family and have dinner every night. At one point, I even asked, who are these kids at the kitchen table? My wife had to remind me they were my children. I was like, wow, look at COVID, look what it did. But not all people are as fortunate or as positive as we are, and that's part of our mission, getting them there. And so I have to ask you, Sameka, and then we can go around to each of you. People oftentimes think they're okay. I think we call that denial, right? When in fact there's something else that is going on in their lives. And without knowing it, their mental health is being compromised by this continued stress from COVID-19, what they see with police brutality, what they see with social injustice, the financial hole that we've all fallen into this country. But what are some of the physical manifestations? I think it's important for people to know that. What are some of the physical manifestations of anxiety, trauma, or depression on the body? Because people think it's something that just, messes with your mind a little bit, but then, you can work through it psychologically, but it does take a toll. Can you share that?
It absolutely does. That's a great question. And I'm glad that you asked, because I totally look at mental health as all encompassing. It impacts our whole body wellness. So there's a mind and body connection. If we look at anxiety, we're very familiar with the term anxiety, but it really does have physical manifestations, whether that's the shortness of breath, the loss of appetite, the nausea, and impacting your gastrointestinal factor, your respiratory systems, your cardiac systems. People can go into a severe level of anxiety, have a panic attack, or things that mirror an actual heart attack. And they can go to the doctor and think they're suffering from a heart attack, and it's not. It's anxiety, it's stress. So the insomnia, the loss of appetite, the inability to focus. I hear a lot of people talking about how they're just having a hard time focusing and getting clarity. They're not sleeping, so now they're waking up and they're fatigued. But along with that, a lot of those signs show up with trauma. So, your stress and anxiety, and then you have the implications of trauma, where you mentioned the social injustice, and you mentioned financial challenges. For some people, this current climate, this current period that we're going through can be triggering to issues with abandonment, unresolved family issues, loneliness, depression. So there are underlying things that are starting to manifest and pop back up for people. So we have to pay attention to our physical health. Anything that is outside of the norm, anything that impacts your ability to carry on your day-to-day function, it should be checked out.
And so, Shauna, what do people do who are stuck in this fight or flight all the time? The adrenaline is surging, the neurotransmitters are flooding their brains. They can't seem to shut it off. We know in the short run, fight or flight is good. It gives us the extra strength, the extra speed to do the things, the extra thinking power. But when we can't shut it off, as I've seen so many people as we're going through this pandemic, what is it that they can begin to do, especially if they're starting to physically break down in the way that Sameka has addressed?
Yeah, that's a great question. The impact of trauma feels very real in the moment. And fight, flight, or freeze are very common responses to trauma, especially as it impacts your physical body. So one thing that's really, really important is taking a look at your entire lifestyle as a whole, and finding those important factors that help decrease your stress on a daily basis. So your overall wellness is all encompassed in your nutrition, your exercise, your ability to sleep, social connections, and your faith. Those really should be working simultaneously all together, so that when you are faced with stressors, or you do have a response to trauma, you have a set of coping skills that you can utilize at any time and be able to work through emotionally what your body is responding to.
And Chris, what are some of the nuggets of gold as far as advice that you've given people who are not just challenged physiologically because of the stress of COVID and everything that comes along with it, but now also have to deal with the poverty, they have to deal with, you know, the rent being too damn high, they have to deal with living on the streets, they have to deal with all sorts of challenges that were in itself before COVID-19 extremely stressful, and then now you throw COVID on top of that. What are some of the things that they can do? What are some of the things that people who are a little bit more fortunate can do?
Thank you for that question, Dr. Jeff. I know especially in New York City, that rent is high. I know several people who have had issues now that COVID is here, being able to keep up with that city rent, and not just in New York, but right here where we are in the Atlanta, Georgia area. I would say that people should reach out for help. There is help out there. Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid if you need to see a counselor, to see a counselor. It's important. I was actually reading an article this morning where in some other countries, they're less fortunate than us, where they frown on counseling, they frown on therapy, but here we welcome that. So I would say the most important nugget is get help if you need help. The Bible tells us in Proverbs 15:22 that plans fail without counsel, but with counsel they succeed. So if God is smart enough to tell us to get counsel when we need it, counseling is important. So if you're out there and you need help, get it. There are resources. When you call us at CFI Coaching Forward International, we refer you to resources. If it means getting your rent paid, if it means a suicide hotline, whatever it is, but get help.
And talking about help, Professor Hill, I know that you do a lot of work with entrepreneurs, developing these community initiatives and so on. Sometimes a pandemic or really bad news can bring out the worst in us, and I think we've seen some of this in the past 4 years with this very toxic and partisan political environment that we've been in. But what are some of the things that have been really helpful, some of the beautiful things, some of the positive things that have come out of COVID-19 with regard to some of your entrepreneurs and thinking about how they can be of service to the community?
Thank you for that question. I would say for our entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs and established entrepreneurs, what has happened is that there has been a new wave of opportunities to relook or shift or refocus what an individual might have thought was their track for their business or their initiative. And so in this time, what has happened is because you're home more, or you're not necessarily going to the office or having to get on the subway, but you're home and you are working alongside as your children are working, you are now able to have those opportunities to write that business plan or to really flesh out what it is that you saw yourself doing 10, 15, 20 years ago in terms of your business or your vision, making your vision statement even more crystal clear, becoming creative with how you are going to execute this vision statement and not necessarily be on that same wheel of business, but how can I strategically and creatively adjust my business or my initiative to make it a success in light of everything that is going on. And I would say to everyone, young people, entrepreneurs, minimize the chatter of that negativity. Don't let that be all consuming 90% of your subject matter, because those are the things that are limiting us from being able to do what we need to do to move forward into this new normal, as we call it.
Right. And it seems to me that this is really about being in a situation where you can adjust your business, whatever it is, the changing times, to be able to not only bring relief and support to others, but also to be able to strengthen that financial bottom line and being able to ride a wave or creating a new way of thinking as we have this extreme rapid leap forward in the way that we live. But we also know that part of that, and I'm going to direct this to Shauna and Sameka. As part of that, though, there's been a lot of grief. There have been a lot of situations where people are facing grief. We have the latest count is 262,673 deaths from COVID or COVID-related illness. Talking about shifting one's business, how have the two of you been able to shift your practices, Sameka and Shauna, in order to provide services for people who are going through grief, and exactly what kind of grief counseling have you given? And let's start with you, Shauna, on that.
Yes, that's a great question, Dr. Jeff. And many people have lost a loved one as a result of COVID-19. And so with that, we've been able to provide services via telehealth online, which has been convenient for many families that have barriers to making it into the office. And one way that's been really, really helpful is first having them acknowledge the pain that they feel. This is someone that they cared for. This is a love that was lost. And it's important to have them feel the emotion of that fully. And also in this time, because the holidays are very vulnerable days where you have memories of that person that you cared for and is no longer here. And so doing the things that honor them, that honor their legacy, and having supports and people around you that loved that person that was that is gone and care about you during these times. That support, it goes such a long way.
And Sameka, how have you been able to change your practice to meet the needs of people who are grieving in a way that is so different in that they just cannot be there many times with their loved ones who are transitioning or have transitioned because of COVID precautions?
Right. I, like Shauna, am also providing telehealth. I do virtual services, but I'm also connected to a number of EAP programs. So there are individuals who are dealing with death, but for some of the people that I've been working with, there's an element of what I call stabilization going on, because for many people, they don't have the opportunity to stop and pause and acknowledge. It is a matter of them ensuring that they take care of what the job is asking them to do so that they can maintain their employment. So for some people, it is identifying the immediate needs, taking care of any lingering things to reduce the immediate stress, and then we can get to a place where we have the space and we have the emotional capacity to now go there and now touch on the feelings and now deal with it And then we take their process and identify where they are. And it has to be an individualized approach these days. So grieving may look like a realistic connection with family. How often can you really be present? And what does being present and receiving support look like for you now? So really, really taking a step back and seeing what's needed, recognizing the feelings and understanding that grief hits us not just with death, but also loss of employment, loss of connections, loss of housing, loss of finances. So helping people understand that grief is not just associated with death, but COVID has caused people to grieve in many different spaces in their lives.
And to look at life in a different way, and not only grieve in a different way, Zemeka, but also suffer emotionally in a different way. As a matter of fact, and Chris, check this out. The latest research from the CDC shows that rates of suicide, can you believe this, have not increased during the pandemic. Yeah, with a high pitch, yeah. However, the increase in suicidal thoughts has continued in that positive trajectory. More suicidal thoughts, more substance abuse, and elevated levels of adverse mental health issues. So what kind of message do you have for the people that you've been working with on the helpline, but also in your coaching with individuals? And please, ladies, jump in on this one too when Chris has addressed this. But what is it that you can tell them to just keep them from not having these suicidal thoughts, or to not abuse substances the way that I think many of us have had a little bit too much to drink during this pandemic?
That's a really good question, Dr. Jeff. I mainly tell the folks that I meet with to get the help that they need. That is so important. When they call in, the first thing that I tell the coaches to do is listen. Don't speak. Just hear what they have to say, because a lot of times people just want to talk. So what I say to individuals is talk about it. Talk about what's on your mind. Don't hold it in. And my counseling, because I'm a Christian counselor, is biblically based. So I use a lot of scriptures, and I give them scriptures to meditate on and let them know that God still loves you no matter what we're going through. So that is very, very important. But talking it out. And something else that I've implemented is writing it out. I know we talked about grief a minute ago, and a lot of times I will tell them, write a letter to that loved one that you lost. And that helps because it's emptying certain emotions. And especially during the time of these holidays, don't give up the traditions that loved one implemented in the family. So just don't forget about them. Right. So I would suggest to individuals out there, take time and write. If you can't express it verbally, write it down and then reread it, and it'll definitely help.
And you could send it by email, by text, by snail mail, if Louis DeJoy has not taken the mailbox from the corner of your home. So I said I wouldn't go into the political space. Look what I just did. Did I do that? All right. So what are the messages from our professionals here do you have for someone who may be experiencing suicidal ideations, thinking, and the thing that I hear all the time is, no, I'm not suicidal, but if I don't wake up tomorrow, I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. What message do you have for them? So, Michael, let's start with you, and then we can open that up.
Right. As Chris just said, listening. I am happy to hear when people reach out and actually acknowledge that I'm having these thoughts. But if I can be honest, and I will be honest in this space with people that I talk to, we're taking a step back again. You hear me mention that multiple times, taking a step back, but now we're looking at medications, because there are some medications that have an increased side effect is suicidal ideation, or going down that path. So now that the climate is a little different, people's stress levels are different. Is that manifesting due to a medication that is already in use? Maybe there's no longer a need for that medication, but now your body is responding to it in an adverse way. So it's looking at that total assessment, what's going on for you, identifying where that stress factor is, because sometimes that suicidal ideation is because there's so much pain and I'm just at a loss of control, a loss of options, and I don't know what to do. And I've been wearing this mask, pretending like I'm okay, but I'm not. So if I don't wake up, I'm okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Professor, I know you wanted to add something onto this.
I have had a very interesting. It's interesting the way things have progressed over these past few weeks. I have been focusing in these last 3 weeks or so on mental health. That's been our module, and one of the things that we just got through in the last week or so is encouraging the students through discussion. And I'm sure you're all familiar with the student posts how they're feeling, and then there's discussion going on about that among the students. And I find that they have been very authentic in terms of talking about, they've done their little stress evaluation or assessment, high, medium, low, just sharing, really writing. Chris, I think that that's a really good idea to write it out. What are these things that are stressing me? What are my stressors? And they've been very, very honest with that. And in that assignment, they have to list how they're really feeling about these stressors, and what are the things that they can do, formulate a plan that's going to help them to relieve the stress. And as they are discussing back and forth, the students have been very encouraging to each other, which is a really great dynamic. And it's not just, oh, I agree with you, I disagree with you, but they are really sharing, and there's a community that is growing out of that. So I really think that, we're on the right track in terms of really allowing or encouraging our students to be open and honest with how they're feeling and what's really going on with these thoughts.
Yeah, and talking about our students, by the way, I know that there are challenges. I've seen it with my own children with regard to the virtual learning, right? Sometimes, I mean, we've been very blessed in that we have the resources to get, some tutors in, to have the best computers and so on. But there are a lot of families out there who just don't have that, kind of a connection. They don't have that kind of income to be able to get some of these things for their kids. And so they are overwhelmed, and they really don't see an end in sight. New York, we just closed down all the public schools. We're approaching 4% as far as infection rate at this point. So it's really, really tough for students, hybrid learning and so on. Shauna, what can you tell parents? What can you tell kids about this adjustment that they need to make to this hybrid and sometimes complete online learning with all of its warts and all?
Yes, this is definitely an interesting time to be alive for parents and students and teachers as well. One thing that I think is really important for parents is to have really open communication with their child, now student. And one thing I've been sharing that's been really helpful is the importance of being translational when you are sharing information with your child. And so having the ability to understand that we are all in overload of information, we are receiving so much on a day-to-day basis, but being able to meet your child where they are emotionally and academically, it goes such a long way. And so part of being able to manage your own stress as a parent is very important. So I like to use the analogy of compartmentalizing, right? We all have our own junk bin of our day-to-day that's really stressful. You don't want that junk bin to get too high, because if it does, we may potentially project some of our stress onto our child, which could be harmful. So finding time to compartmentalize your mental health from your child's mental health is it's so invaluable in these times.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I know that we do in this household is that everything now becomes a learning situation. Everything. Because just what they're getting from school is not enough. We have to, as you said, Shauna, really sit down and break things down for them and be able to explain things in a way, keep them in front of the computer if we're able to do that. So certainly it has been a challenge, but I think as we meet that challenge, it only makes us better parents and it makes for better students. We will get there. But we've also seen some really ugly behaviors in the past 6 months. We've seen the politicization of COVID. We've seen an attack against science. We've seen the rise of white supremacy in the past 4 years. Chris, how has this affected, especially, I know you have 2 tight Senate races that are very important. How has this affected the people of Georgia with regard to taking care of their emotional health with all of these stressors, all of the politics, really living in a divisive, separated country at this point?
Yes, Dr. Jeff, really great and important question. We have seen so much taking place in the last few months, from taking down of statues right here in our very own community. There's been so much division, and just dealing with that, dealing with COVID, dealing with social unrest. It's been a lot. And what we try to do here as a community, we have had many prayer walks, many meetings, coming together. The faith-based organizations, the pastors have come together, the ministers together, to try to make sure that we keep unification here in our community. So there's been a lot going on, and now I've been watching the major attacks, and we said we wouldn't make this political, but I've been watching the major attacks in the various commercials that's taking place, and it's really unfortunate and really sad. And it almost seems like it may get a little worse before it gets better, But I hope that we can all come together and unify the country. And it seems like it's the spotlight's on Georgia to do that. And we just sit down and have clear and concise dialogue. And that's how we've been dealing with it.
Absolutely, and that's why we all have Georgia on our mind. Georgia is really the model for every other state, New York, Florida. I know many of you represent Florida, Maryland, Baltimore, and so on. And so what is it that each of us can do in our own private lives to begin to heal this nation, to heal our families, to be able to see daylight again and move into this new world in a healthy manner? And let me start with you, Professor. What is it that you think we can do, especially in utilizing students, our young people?
That's very good. I really like this question because of the fact that I've been talking to our students and even parents and young adults as well about this importance of leading by example, right? So you lead by example by, first of all, taking care of yourself and exhibiting what that should look like, so that those who are in your household or in your classroom, you show up for them in that way. You show up taking care of yourself. You show up by offering conversation that is going to be beneficial, mutually beneficial to both you and your student or your child or the person you're consulting or coaching. it's all hands on deck. And I think that at this time, everyone has to do their part to help to not only mitigate COVID, but to regain that sense of community. A conversation, positive conversation is at the forefront of that as well. So we've got self-care, conversation, community, all of these things. If we come together and work together and look for something that is better, I know it's going to be better. I have to believe that. And then to show that and to express that to everyone that's in front of you, then I think that we are all doing something.
Absolutely. And Samantha, you know, I am Haitian like Sorrel, and I do read minds. And I know one of the things you want to talk about is the importance of exercising in maintaining our mental health. How did I know that? I am Haitian.
Well, I'm sure that you have, you know, made a lot of people happy and proud with your gifts, Dr. Jeff. But and I would say, you know, my family, again, we moved down to Florida, and it's got to be in the 70s right now. So in comparison to Maryland, and then just being out, you know, if the sunshine is there, I'm happy, I feel better. Even if we go out and take a walk, again, that mind-body connection. So it's so important for us to re-engage. And if we are in a space where it is not advised for us to be out publicly, so maybe we live in an apartment building and there are hundreds of tenants, do we really want to be out roaming the hallways? No, we may not want to be, but is there a way for us to connect, like you mentioned, doing exercise via Zoom, or pulling up something on YouTube that allows you to meditate, that allows you to get engaged with your children? Make them have recess at home. Like, there are apps that are available and you could just shut it down and say it's time for PE. And everyone just take a break and we move our body, because it allows a mental reset. It allows us to exert some energy, and we can kind of reignite and get engaged for the rest of the day. So physical fitness exercise is paramount to our mental health. So I encourage everybody to do it, even if it's a 10 and 15-minute walk, even if you do jumping jacks, jump rope, move your body.
That's right. And thank God for my Peloton machine. And I hope your organization, since I just shouted them out. And Shauna, what are some tried and true things that people can put into their daily routine who are at home in order to feel more alive, in order to have some purpose in their living, in order to get through the day with a smile on their faces?
Yes, that's a wonderful question. And to add to the Peloton, I am a part of the Peloton Nation too, Dr. Jeff. So perhaps we can connect soon on there.
Yes.
Yes. But there's so much power in the ability to come together and unify as a family. So if you can schedule activities around meal time, so perhaps it's having breakfast together and a meditation and prayer, or having dinner at a set time together. I know of a lot of families that are having new conversations across the aisles of their table, and it's been so good for their mental health, for marriages, for children. And so being able to have something that is normal in the midst of all of this unknown under the roof of your home, it actually is really good for your mental health and the health of your family.
And we have about 30 seconds left before we go to our next segment. But Chris, a lot of my religious friends have been talking to me about Ezekiel. They've been talking to me about Revelations. They've been talking to me about the rapture. But is there good news coming for us somewhere down the line here? From the word.
I really believe so. You know, can these dry bones live? I believe that God will breathe air into those dry bones and things will get back to some sense of normality. We truly have to believe, and we have to know that He holds the whole world in His hand. And we just have to have faith. So I believe these dry bones can live, and air will be breathed back into them. From the word.
Absolutely. And God helps those who help themselves.
Amen.
Must have the Creator, even if you don't believe in God, but perhaps a Creator lives within you, and it is about helping your fellow woman and man. And notice I said woman before man. All right, because our women are the backbone and the foundation of our humanity. Let's not ever forget that. All right, this has been a really great conversation, ladies, and we've shared a lot of good information. Your to-do lists have been off the shizzle. Thank you so much for that. I hope people are taking notes. This is really, really great stuff, and it's all free. That's the best part of it. And let's now open the comment section for you to share your questions, all right? So go ahead and start sending in your questions right now that our incredible panelists are going to be able to answer for you. The Caribbean American Cultural Arts Foundation has, by the way, partnered with the official Westside Parent Avengers. And this is a parent advocacy group based in the historic Vine City area of Atlanta. Boy, I wish I'd bought in Vine City back in the day. Now, let's check in with Samantha Samuels, president of the Caribbean Association of Georgia, and our own Miss Chris Scott, as they chat with parents and one of our most vulnerable but most precious groups, our children.
So I am Chris Scott. I'm a master life coach and also a Christian counselor. And I'm just so excited. And thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me today. And September?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Awesome. And Marquise, that is an awesome name, both of you. Wow. So, there's so much going on in our world today, and I just wanted to take some time to speak with the two of you and get your perspective on some things.
Okay.
So, how has this pandemic affected your lives? What has changed? What has stayed the same?
I would say job-wise, yeah, I was laid off due to the virus, so it most definitely changed things up at home. And got the kids at home more and everything of that sort.
Wow. So with the children being home, how has that changed your life? I mean, homeschooling now because they're not back in school yet.
That's right. And they're not being able to, do normal activities and see their friends. And there's a lot of pressure in the house with everybody on top of each other. No work, no school.
Yeah.
So it most definitely changed it.
So Marquise, that must have been tough, losing the job and just trying to deal with financial things at the house. So how are you dealing with that? How are you coping with it?
Well, like she said, the job messes up a little bit, but I'm still working because I work at UPS. So it's about the same thing.
That's a good thing. Yeah. That's a good thing. What I've found is a lot of parents, it's been difficult for them to be able to help the children with their schoolwork. Are you finding the same situation, September?
Oh, yes, ma'am. It is a little bit complicated, learning the whole virtual thing. And, it's very difficult, to be honest. Like, ain't nobody used to that. I mean, how we came up going in class, learning hands-on, and now it's virtual. The kids don't keep focused on that very long. And especially we have 3, so, you might have one doing okay, but the other 2 ain't. And it's just different. Like, I'm not used to it.
I can't even imagine. My children are grown now, so I don't have to deal with that. But I really think about the parents that have to deal with that and to sit with the children. It must be really, really tough, and I can't even imagine. So there's another subject that has affected our country, a racial subject. How has that affected you, Marquise, as a young man?
Well, it affected me in a lot of ways. Can't go too many places without think you get looked at differently. It's just all around a mess to me.
Have you had to deal with any type of situations from that? And like you said, you can't go any place without looking funny to other people.
But nah, I ain't really had to deal with nothing like that because I try to stay away since it's been going on so much. I just play my role.
What do you tell your children during these times with the pandemic, with all of the racial unrest, with what we're going through, with just everything that's happening in the world today? What do you say to them?
I just say, love your family, stay close to them, and, you know, to stay out of everybody's way, really. I mean, we're not really the type to be dealing with a lot of people, you know. And like he said, it just feels different. You don't know whether to take people like they really, you know, concerned about you. They don't want you there no more, you know.
Yeah.
So if everybody just stick together with their family and, you know, try to provide the best you can for them and just, you know, continue trying to build, then I guess it'll be all right.
It's kind of like our new normal, you know. I went into a store today and I forgot to put my mask on, and I got in and they looked at me like I was crazy, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself forgetting that as well?
Yeah, I'm still, and then when me not working because I was laid off, I still got to get used to using a mask because me not being at work again, always at home, that means I don't need the mask like that.
That's right.
Yeah, so even when I go out there, I'm always having, like, where's the mask? Because I don't even think about it. I've been in the house so long that it's like, you know, gotta have that mask when you come out. And then there's no more buffet, you know, things like that. That's where I was working at, so.
Wow, things have truly changed a lot. Things are so different. Well, I'm definitely gonna keep you all in mind and just pray for you through this situation for you and your children. And how many children do you have?
3.
3, okay. Boys, girls?
We have a daughter that's 11, 2 boys, 10 and 8.
Wow, that's a full household, right?
It is, yes, most definitely.
So I have a gift for you from Solace. And this is a booklet that we created, mental health workbook. Because although we feel like, you know, I'm not dealing with anything from mental health, we all are.
Yes, ma'am.
We all get a little bit stressed.
Yes.
So there are 2 booklets here for you.
Okay.
And it's called What's Stressing You. So when you get time, you know, it'll really help you to just sit down and write your feelings, because we find that writing is therapeutic and it really helps.
Yes.
So September and Marquise, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Thank you.
You take care.
Hi, can you hold one moment, please? Thank you. Hey, I'm Master Life Coach Chris Scott. I stopped by to say to you that we are facing a tough time in our world, in our country. You see, you may need someone to talk with if you're experiencing the following symptoms. You may be feeling very down or sad and feeling worried and empty, or even you're feeling a sense of anxiety. Maybe you're sleeping too much or sleeping too little, feeling tired or slowed down. Changes in appetite or your weight. Maybe you're gaining weight or maybe you're losing weight. You're having little or no interest in those things that you normally take pleasure in, like your hobbies. Maybe experiencing the loss of a loved one. Quarantine may sometimes make you feel isolated. I understand. Listen, don't suffer in silence. Call the Coaching Forward International Support Helpline today and talk with a coach for free. You see, we'll listen, we'll encourage, and we will refer you out for further assistance if needed. This is a free service to help you get through this difficult time. You see, a group of coaches have teamed up together to listen to you and help you get through this. Call 1-888-61-COACH. That's 1-888-61-COACH. Or you can visit us on the web at coachingforwardinternational.org. That's coachingforwardinternational.org. And we'll talk to you. We will listen. And if you can't use this information, definitely share it with someone else. Someone needs help today. Don't suffer in silence. Oh, I gotta get back on my call. Bless you. Yes, thank you for calling Coaching Forward International. This is Chris. How may I serve you?
Call Coaching Forward International at 1-888-61-COACH and speak with a coach today, or visit www.coachingforward.org. coachingforwardinternational.org.
So Nicole, you just told me that you're going to the 6th grade.
Yes.
And are you excited?
Not that much.
Why?
Because I need to learn more about science.
But why do you think learning more about science won't prepare you for 6th grade?
Because when I was in 4th grade, I got C's on it, and I couldn't even know those things.
Oh, okay. And so now, we're going into, you're in virtual learning, right? Is that making it any better, or is it more challenging?
It's getting better and better.
It's getting better? Okay. So, but you'll do amazing. So don't even think about it, right? Don't think about it. But Alfonso, I saw this book and you did a coloring. And I really like this. And you know what you said about this coloring in this book? I just want to show everybody. I just want to show you. Do you remember this? What you did?
Yeah.
You know what you said about this when I asked you? You said you drew this because your friends, you couldn't play with your friends. Tell me a little bit more about that. How is that making you feel?
Is it like making me feel like not so happy? Because since the COVID-19 has started, I couldn't see them in person, and we had to separate each other because of the pandemic.
And how did that, when you said separate, and it's almost like I could feel your heart when you're saying that, like it really hurt you that you couldn't play with your friends anymore? Is that how you feel? Like you feel really hurt that you couldn't play and talk to them anymore?
Yes.
Yeah. So what are some things that you're doing now in this pandemic? And what are some things that you're doing now in the pandemic?
Playing my phone with my brother, spending more time with my family.
Spending more time with your family. And then you said you do what? You do Zoom?
Yeah.
I didn't know that you guys do Zoom. What do you do with your friends on Zoom?
We go to a breakout room and talk and do our work.
Oh, so you get a breakout room and while you're doing virtual learning?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. So how long do you get that breakout room?
We be doing it.
You can raise your head up. You're beautiful. Mm-hmm.
We do it every single day.
Every day? Is it like recess, like when you used to get recess to go outside?
No, it's when we go in the breakout room, we got to talk to our friends.
You get to talk to your friends? Does that feel the same like when you were with your friends in school?
Well, no, because we on a computer and an iPad, and we can't see them in person or like in real school.
Real school. How's that making you feel?
Not a bit sad because I can't see it in person.
It's making you mad and sad? Yeah. So you wish you could go back to school and be in person with your friends?
Yes.
Yeah. What are some things that you're doing to help you just heal from being mad and sad?
So, COVID-19 have been with Corona.
Say that again?
I said COVID-19 will be with Corona, and we got to be on virtual school on a computer.
When they told you that you had to stay home from school, how did that make you feel because of this COVID? Yeah.
I was sad.
You were sad? Yeah, I was sad too because we all had to shut in, right? Yes. So that made you sad?
Yes.
Yeah. What about, Nicole, you could take the mic. What about you? How did that make you feel?
It made me feel kind of sad and angry because I couldn't see my friends if I left school.
Yeah. You use a strong word, angry. What does that mean? What does that mean to you?
It means really mad. If I don't, sometimes without my friends, I just get mad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some things that you are doing while you're at home? What are some things that you're doing for coping skills to kind of make you a little happy instead of angry?
Well, I just draw sometimes when I'm not, when I'm sad or angry. I draw or I just watch TikTok.
You draw, so you like drawing? So that's pretty much something that you do to release stress, to take it off of your mind?
Yes.
That's actually a good thing. That's called like therapy, you know? And so it's really good that you use what you love when you're feeling mad and upset, and use that as a tool to relax you. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what about you, Alfonso? What are some other things that you do?
I usually like go in the front yard and like jump off of like the stairs.
How many stairs do you jump off?
All of them.
Oh, how many steps are they?
I think about like 30.
Like how many?
30.
So you jump from 30 steps from one all the way down?
No, like
oh,
on like the stairs have like sides, and then I jump one to the other.
Whew. I was about to say, Alfonso, I don't think we need to do that anymore because I don't want to come visit you in the hospital. Right? Okay. So what are some other things that you do besides jumping? First of all, what does jumping make you feel?
Energetic.
Energetic. Like that word. Break that word down for me, just in case, I didn't understand what energetic means, you're the smart one, right? So break it down for me.
Energetic means like, you're like, you can't stop what you're doing.
You can't stop what you're doing.
Yeah. And it also means that you always like do the same thing sometimes, like every day.
So, you said you can't stop what you're doing. What is it that you don't want to stop doing?
Like jumping.
You don't want to stop jumping because that makes you feel, besides energetic, what does that make you feel?
Happy.
Happy. So you kind of release, do you do it when, just do it, or do you do it when you're mad or upset or just for fun?
I do it just for fun.
You do it just for fun. Awesome. So what do you do for fun?
I play with my baby sister.
You play with your baby sister? What are some things that you do when you play with your baby sister? What do you guys do?
We play hide and go seek.
Hide and go seek. Okay. All right. So I really want to get down to this. Do you guys know what mental health is and wellness?
No.
No? Oh. Let me see if Nicole knows.
I can guess.
You can guess. You know what? It's always good to guess.
What is it again?
Mental health.
Is it like when you have something that you're like afraid of?
All right, we'll take that. Let me hear what you have to say.
I think mental health means like something is wrong in your body.
Something is wrong in your body. Well, this is it. Like how we do exercise because we're trying to get fit, and some of us are saying we, got to lose some weight, and first of the year we're all going on a diet. I mean, you guys are not there yet. It's just me, okay? But mental health is all about taking care of you, your mental state, your mind. So when COVID happened, who knows what COVID or the pandemic is? Go ahead, Nicole, put the mic.
Well, COVID is.
You want to look? Yeah, COVID.
COVID is like a sickness that people get, but also you have to stay indoors and safely.
You have to stay indoors. Okay. What do you think?
I think COVID-19 means when you get the corona.
You get the corona. What's the corona?
It means you will get sick.
You get sick, right? And so one of the reasons why I'm wearing a mask and Nicole is wearing a mask, and most of us are wearing a mask is because we don't want anyone else to get sick. Because while we're sitting here, we don't want, if we breathe or anything, anyone gets sick. So we got shut in because of the pandemic. And what that made you feel, which is what you said you were upset and angry. You said you didn't like it being indoors. Alfonso said, I can't get to play with my friends. So mental health is when you're not functioning in yourself. It's almost like getting sick, but it's not getting sick to that point. It's just that you're not functioning well, right? Because now you're missing your friends and you're missing being outdoors. And so you're starting to get really sad. And really and truly, we're not really supposed to get sad like that. Okay? So one of the things about mental health is like getting outdoors. Like you got out here and played today. How did that make you feel now that you got out with your friends and you were playing, you were coloring? How did that make you feel? You want
Happy.
Happy. How does it make you feel?
Glad, happy.
Glad and happy. How does it make you feel?
Excited.
Excited. That is what we're supposed to feel. And when you feel excited and happy and glad, doesn't your body feel different? But when you start feeling sad, it feels a different kind of way. So I'm just really glad to meet some new friends. I really like meeting you all and just find other ways to cope. You okay? And do your coloring. What is it that you like to play with your friend, with your sister, right? Hide and seek. What do you like to do?
Jump off.
You like to jump off the stairs. And I like to go walking. So on that, I'm just glad that I got to meet you all.
Wow, those were incredible chats with Samantha Samuels, again, the president of the Caribbean Association of Georgia, and of course our own Chris Scott. Chris, well done. Well, I'll tell you what, we are back with you. Joining us once again is Shauna Wilson, Chris Scott, of course, Sameka Yezreel, and Sharon Hill, and they've been giving us such great information and asking you to do the best that you can during COVID. And certainly I've been asking them some great questions, but now it's time for some of those amazing questions that we've talked about. They've come pouring in. And so let me go back to you, my great panelists, and any of you can jump in anywhere you want to on answering these questions. Please make sure that you unmute yourselves. First question comes to us from Ebony. She is looking for a suggestion on what to do with an older parent who has dementia. How do you get that parent to maintain physical and mental health, especially with this COVID-19 precautions that we must take, less family contact, less possibilities to go out into the community? So let me just throw that out to any of you who may have this kind of experience.
Well, Ebony, that's a really great question. The fact that I had a mom that dealt with dementia and Alzheimer's, and I can't even imagine what you're going through right now during these times. I can't imagine having to deal with that during this time because we have to be there for them and we have to keep things familiar around that individual. It makes it worse when things are out of whack and not, they're not recognizing certain things. I remember my mom forgot who I was several times, and that was very difficult for me. I would suggest, Ebony, that you reach out to the Alzheimer's Service Center. If you're here in Georgia, the Alzheimer's Service Center of Georgia, and if you're not here, I'm sure there's one in your local community. And they have tons of resources and ideas and ideas of games and different activities that you can do with a parent that's dealing with Alzheimer's and dementia. And I'll tell you what my mother's doctor told me. She said, Chris, it's going to be harder on you than it is on your mom, because they don't have a clue what they're doing. But it's difficult, and I totally get it, Ebony. So please reach out to those resources, the Alzheimer's Service Center, and they will be able to help you and give you lots of great ideas.
And Chris, I guess we can post that information a little bit later on. People can go on the website that I'll be giving out. They can get all of this incredible information. As a matter of fact, let me give that out now. You can go to www.solaceseries.com. Again, www.solaceseries.com and get a lot of this really great information that we've been giving you, as well as workbooks and more. And we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But really, Chris did bring up something that's very important. who helps the helpers? What about those people who are there working with individuals with Alzheimer's, working with people in hospitals who have COVID and trying to recover? Let me break this out to our other therapists. What are some of the things, Sameka, let's go to you as a matter of fact, that people can begin to do as far as getting some of their own respite so they can have the strength to do the incredible work that they do?
Definitely reaching out for support. You know, we've had this common theme of identifying, you know, where you can get support, where you can get resources. For people who are employed, surprisingly, or whether it's a surprise or not, there are many employers, organizations, and companies that want to maintain their employers. They want to ensure that people are receiving quality mental health care, especially during this time. So they have employee assistance programs set up. Some people are allowing dedicated time where you don't engage on the phone or on the computer. You may go out and do something out on your own to maintain your mental health. So identifying your needs, making it a priority to implement some breaks in your schedule, whether it turns into you blocking your schedule so you can do what's realistic and healthy for your family, especially if you're in a home teaching, working, and doing other things. Really identifying how you can do things effectively and maintain positive mental health.
And Shauna, what tips do you have that you can share with us through some of the great clinical work that you do with regard to helping the helpers? Frontline workers even, right?
Yeah, frontline workers. I believe that you cannot pour from an empty cup. And so it's so important to prioritize your mental health. As Sameka was sharing, there are EAP programs that will allow for services to be covered. There's also mental health programs within different employer programs so that you can have a mental health day if you need. I know that there's some places that will have like a gym on site where you can exercise during the day, but managing and prioritizing your care as you care for others is so important. Because of the type of work that we do, it's really important to take time throughout your day to decompress, no matter what that looks like. So even if you need to take 20 to 30 minutes after you return from a long shift, that is really, really important time to prioritize before you re-engage and do the family activities of the evening. So really having a consistent routine where your mental health and wellness is a part of the schedule of the day is really, really important.
Absolutely. And do it in a healthy manner. That's what we're talking about. Because we know a lot of people have been really self-medicating, right? I mean, I like to joke that at the end of the evening, I like to have a quarantini, 3 green olives, vodka, a little bit dirty, just like me, shaken but not stirred. But I only have one. When you start going to 2 or having 2 or 3 glasses of wine and you're doing that night after night, now you're defeating the purpose of de-stressing. So it's important that you engage in the healthy activities that we've heard from Shauna. Professor, I have one for you. This comes from Rudolpha. By the way, I love that name, Rudolpha. You know that is a strong person, Rudolpha, right? And so Rudolpha asks, what population, in your opinion, is suffering the most from mental health issues when it comes to this COVID-19 pandemic?
I wish I had the statistics on that, but I don't. I know that the population that I deal with, although it's college students, it varies. My particular area definitely is a first-year experience group of students, but that first-year student in college looks different than what you would normally think. I do work with and engage with students who are fresh out of high school, 17, 18, 19 years old. And then I do have students in that same class that could be an adult that's seasoned, that's been dealing with paying bills, taking care of family, and now they're getting ready to change careers or looking for a way to make themselves more marketable as being promoted. And then you might have a young adult that decided to hang out for a little bit and see what that was like. Okay, but across the board, all these students are still having those same issues, whether it's dealing with the technology and the internet and having to navigate with whether it's a synchronous or asynchronous class, and how to interact academically and professionally virtually. Okay, so it's across the board, and as I said, I wish I had the numbers, but I think that we can't get caught up in the numbers so much as the solution that we have to come to overall, because this is where we're headed, as you said earlier in the program, Dr. Jeff, is that this is going to be what it is. So whether it's a smaller number of people at this time, eventually it is going to be the norm.
That's right. And it is about the subjective experience. And I will say to you before we go to our last question, watch the kids. They are not having a normal upbringing. They're not really dating. They're not really having friends. Everything is online. And the little kids, right up to the big kids, are certainly at risk for behavioral problems. So the professor, as usual, is absolutely right. It's not about the numbers. It's about the subjective experience. And Chris, I've saved this last one for you because it is specifically for you. This comes to us from Sherry. She says, she asks, what resources are available for parents to get support on mental health for themselves and for their children in Atlanta?
That's a great question, Sherry. One of the first places that I would suggest is the CDC website. They have lots of great resources to help parents that may be dealing with mental health situations, and also to help children. So the cdc.gov, and that's for anyone, not just Georgia. And also childmind.org, childmind.org. It's the Child Mind Institution, and they have great resources as well. They have telehealth. They have information on outdoor activities that you can do to keep the children engaged and keep them active. And also georgia.gov, the Commission on Children's Mental Health. So those are all resources, and I believe that we'll make that available on our website as well.
Thank you so much, Chris. That is great information. Well, we're getting to that time where we will be wrapping up. I want to thank the Caribbean American Cultural Arts Foundation for having me here. And I want to thank our panelists once again, Shauna Wilson, Chris Scott, Semeka Yisrael Johnson, Sharon Hill. All of you are national treasures. I thank you, thank you, thank you for your incredible work in the community. May God bless each and every one of you and give you that strength to do the work that you do. And by the way, ladies, let me say this. If you talk the talk, you better walk the walk. So please take care of yourselves in every way that you have urged us to. Thank you so much for joining us. And before we go, we invite you to visit www.solaceseries.com. Let me say it again. That's what we do on TV. We always say it twice. www.solaceseries.com to download our workbook and learn more about the resources that we talked about this afternoon and what is out there in your community that can help you and your family. And remember, and don't ever forget, your mental health is your wealth. Thanks and take care. Back to you, Melissa.
Thanks so much, Dr. Jeff, for such an insightful conversation. The Solace series is known for our phenomenal entertainment. And this session is no different, and it does not disappoint. We have an expressive performance from author, speaker, and founder of the Happiness Habit, Artemis Sky, followed by a lively and electric performance by Wadadli's Hearings.
Hi, this is Artemis Guy McNeil, Greek-American author, motivational speaker, wellness advocate, and founder of The Happiness Habit. And I'm so happy to be partnering with Solace Virtual Series with such an important message on mental health awareness. What's stressing you? So how do we deal with stressful times, especially when they are pervasive or prolonged, to keep ourselves balanced physically, emotionally, and mentally? Are you ready to take some notes? First and foremost, we should give credit to the amazing machines that our bodies are, as they automatically work in our behalf to keep us balanced by the miracle of homeostasis. We are ever adaptable and self-adjusting creatures. As we go about our day, our brain is constantly monitoring alterations in the plasma level of key metabolic hormones and other nutrients. It automatically tries to keep our core temperature hovering around 98.6 degrees. It releases adrenaline or cortisol or other hormones to maintain proper function. Aren't we thankful that we have internal bodyguards that keep regulating and protecting us? Now, how can we keep feeding our bodies so that their automatic responses stay at levels that continue to help us and not get exhausted, as they are working overtime right now? By another vital way, that is by our own decision making. Viktor Frankl, author of Mankind's Search for Meaning, stated that when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. So not only does our brain help us cope and adapt, but our own conscious decisions do as well. The Happiness Habit dictates, let's continue to make decisions that our future selves can be empowered by and thank us for. And we can continue to do so even in these trying times. Right now, we are living in a situation that we cannot change. But is this really anything new? When it rains outside, we can't change the weather, but we can make the conscious decision to take an umbrella. When it's cold, we can't change the temperature, but we can decide to wear a coat to warm our body up. When it's hot, we can't change that either, but we can decide to drink more water or to turn on the air condition to cool our body down. And these are all conscious ways that we help the process of homeostasis and balancing out ourselves. Let's use another illustration, the one of flying in order to reach a destination. Sometimes we get on a plane that severely alters our normal way of living. Still, we function, eat, watch a movie, use the facilities, sleep, read a book, listen to music, but it's definitely not our norm. We are at abnormal altitudes for our body. We may get dehydrated, cramped, and uncomfortable at times, but with the focus and excitement to reach our destination, whether it be vacation or visiting friends or family, we are willing to put up with this temporary altered state. Well, we can say that we are in a worldwide circumstance, that we are all traveling together. So we need to focus on what our destination is. Isn't it to stay healthy and safe and to keep our loved ones healthy and safe as well? That's an incredible destination. If we can view these goals as destinations, we may find that being a little cramped can also be very rewarding. And in the interim, we can still do things, just tweak them a little differently. Henry David Thoreau stated, "What lies before us, what lies behind us, are small matters compared to what lies within us. And when you bring what is within out into the world, miracles happen." How can we do this? I have a quote that says, "I took a moment to be still in my present so that I am not paralyzed by my future." It is important to take a moment to stop and assess our situation personally and individually. The two main things in life that we are all wired to want is balance in our bodies and in our relationship with others. We need to lean into this so we can understand how to get there. How we may get there may be a little different for you than it is for me. That is why Mental Health America displays 31 different tips to help us outwardly. Let's take a brief look at a few. 1, track gratitude. What are you thankful for each day? Did you know by the mere decision to be thankful, you are releasing serotonin and dopamine in the brain? Feel-good receptors. 2, work your strengths. You may be familiar with my quote, "Use your strengths to offset your weaknesses. So when you become aware of a weakness in dealing with the current situation, consciously look for a strength to offset it and commend yourself when you do. Keep a journal or write a poem. Well, you know I love that one. I have a quote that says, "I brought words to life when I was dying, and they gave me a reason to live." I use poetry as part of my Happiness Habit platform as catharsis, a grounding force, inspirational and uplifting to balance mind and heart, and many readers have appreciated and benefited from this. Maya Angelou said, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you." So once you write it down, share it with others. This can even be in reaching out to loved ones by a letter or a card, or to check on them as well. Read a book that will change your life. How about a book that you thought you never had time for? How about reading the world's bestseller in a year? Did you know that the world's bestseller of all time can be read in only 4 pages a day and you'll get through it in a year? It's the Bible, and you may be surprised with what you walk away with. Boost your brain power by good nutrition. Did you know that walnuts, blueberries, dark chocolate, as well as diffusing essential oils can help alter and uplift your mood, among other things? I keep this diffuser on me daily. Do some coloring. What a great way to relax and de-stress by going back to our childhood staple. The Solace series has provided coloring books that can do just that. Here's some other tips. Take time to pray and meditate. Take time to laugh. Spend time with a furry friend. Go off the grid. Nothing will change between today and tomorrow. If you turn off all social media and news media and give yourself some time, quiet time to reset, you'll be the better for it. Practice forgiveness. Forgive others to let go of added burdens. But forgiveness is not only about people. It's also about circumstances. It's also about forgiving yourself. So forgive the current situation and forgive yourself when you're tired and you just want to lay low. That's okay too. These are not expensive undertakings. They are mindful opportunities that helps us reach homeostasis. There is much more that we can speak about on this subject. If you would like the references I mentioned here, as well as a list of comprehensive resources and uplifting quotes, please email with the subject mental health to thehappinesshabit@yahoo.com. And we will be happy to get those out to you. Again, this is Artemis Sky McNeil for Solace. Good mental health to you.
Whatever music.
Hello from ATL. I am Jai Farrell, the Assistant General Manager of Commercial Development at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, and I bring you greetings on behalf of Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms and our General Manager, John Selvin. We are delighted that you've invited us here to speak on the efforts we've activated at ATL to keep us ATL strong during this time of resumption and recovery.
Hartsfield-Jackson Airport is safe, clean, and ready for you to enjoy your travel. It's mandatory to wear a face mask at all times while at the airport. Look for decals on the floor to help you keep a safe distance of 6 feet or more. We've also placed 300 new touchless hand sanitizers throughout the airport. For more details about the new policies to make sure the airport is safe, clean, and ready when you are, go to atl.com/ATL Strong.
At the world's busiest and most efficient airport, Hartsfield-Jackson, we are ATL Strong. We are safe, clean, and ready to welcome your return when you are. Safety is ATL's top priority, and everyone has a role. Besides our culture of see something, say something, we ask that you abide by the mandatory face covering options that we have in the airport. If you don't have a face mask or a face covering, one will be provided to you at no charge. Additionally, we've installed floor markers as a friendly reminder to keep your distance as you navigate through the airport. Each airline partner has various restrictions and requirements when you're traveling domestically or abroad. We highly recommend and encourage that you touch base with your airline partner to understand what those acknowledgments, restrictions, or medical assessments are that are required prior to you taking flight. Personally, I've traveled to the Caribbean, Jamaica specifically, because I love Jamaica, during this period of time, and I had a COVID test within 10 days of me taking travel, temperature checks upon arrival, temperature checks when I got back to the airport, and I did my family and my friends and coworkers a favor and got a COVID-19 test prior to going back to the office when I returned. We are clean and exercise additional sanitization efforts in ATL to make sure that our facilities are welcoming when you return. Aside from our frequent cleaning of the checkpoint areas, the common areas like restrooms and hold rooms, we've installed over 300 touchless hand sanitizing stations to make sure that you, the passenger, can be safe along your journey. We've collapsed our parking lot shuttle operations, and we've really encouraged individuals to come in contactless for entry and exit on our on-airport parking facilities. Additionally, we've reduced the rates on the adjacent parking structures that are near the domestic and international terminal to encourage you to socially distance and walk to your terminal before taking flight. ATL has 2 transit systems, one the SkyRail, which is above ground, and it connects you from the airport to off-airport parking areas and convention centers and other off-airport facilities. We also have the plane train, which is underground, that connects you to concourse along with terminal to terminal. Each transit system has increased its frequency of trains just to make sure that you can socially distance and not pack on. In addition to that, we have very deep cleaning sanitization methods that we're taking in the evenings to make sure that you're safe when they're taking out of service. ATL is ready to return to flight for you. We've integrated several technology options to keep you socially distanced when you're traveling through the airport, specifically when you're ordering food, beverage, or you have any retail services. They have touchless and mobile ordering kiosks at the various ATL SkyPoint, the mall within the mall, food and beverage locations at the airport. Additionally, in ATL SkyPoint locations, we've installed plexiglass barriers to keep both you and our beloved employees safe as you get your needs prior to you taking flight. As we recover and we resume operations, please visit atl.com/SkyPoint to learn about options available to you on your concourse or in adjacent concourses near you. As there have been obvious pivots in the airline experience, we ask that you get to the airport no later than 2 hours prior to you taking flight so you know what to expect in our new normal. If you want to know what's happening with the wait times and the lines for security checkpoint, please visit atl.com/times so you can get real-time tracking of what's available and the times. It is critical to the aviation community, All of us, airports, airlines, and stakeholders give confidence to the air travel experience. And at ATL, we are dedicated to regaining that confidence and trust in the 100 million passengers that come to us annually. ATL Strong resonates with our employees, our stakeholders, and our passengers as we recover together. You are always welcome in ATL. We are safe, we're clean, and we're ready to welcome you back to take flight when you are. To learn more about the additional resumption efforts and the cleaning options in ATL, please visit atl.com/ATL Strong. I am Jai like sky, sky like fly, and fly like airport. And I, along with the 63,000 employees at ATL, are ready for you to return. You are always welcome in ATL.
I'm Melissa Noel. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, don't forget to visit www.solaceseries.com. And please be sure to download our interactive mental health workbook and resources for families who can use support during these difficult times. We'll see you next week. And as always, we hope that you continue to seek and find your solace.
Thank you for joining us for this special episode of Solace Virtual Series. On behalf of the Caribbean American Cultural Arts Foundation, we say stay safe, stay home, and enjoy your solace.
When I look at where I'm coming from, I know I'm blessed, and I close my eyes and smile. Sometimes I feel like the richest man in Babylon, and I've done my best, so everything's alright inside. Every morning I rise, I stare at the sun. I know it is a blessing, so when the evening